Welcome to another episode of Stories from Here. As the sign suggests, this episode highlights some of the features of Washington, D.C. I loved seeing and experiencing in some measure. After catching a train at Union Station, I wanted to see the famous Ford's Theatre, built in 1863, where the then President Abraham Lincoln was shot. The theatre has largely remained the same, and I was told that the presidential box, except for cleaning, is the same as it was way back when. The rocking chair to the left of screen is where President Lincoln was sitting when John Wilkes Booth entered and shot him. Whilst the chair on display is similar to the actual chair stained with Lincoln's blood is still on display, but miles away in Dearborn, Michigan, at the Henry Ford Museum. The .44 caliber one-shot Derringer that Booth used on Lincoln is also on display here. Wounded, Lincoln was carried out of the theatre, across the road to an apartment building, and had his wounds tended to, but he passed away the following morning on April 15, 1865, some 100 years before I was born. As a side note, the same Henry Ford Museum in Michigan, where Lincoln's chair is on display, the actual car that carried JFK on that fateful day in Texas is also on display. The midnight blue colour was changed after the assassination and had a great deal of work done to the car by adding a non-removable bulletproof capsule added to the car, and it was the same limo used by Presidents Johnson, Ford, Nixon and Carter after Kennedy, and it was retired in 1977. Prior to going to Washington, D.C., I made the mistake of thinking the Smithsonian Institute was a building. I had no idea that it was a large number of buildings boasting exhaustive collections known the world over. There is simply way too much to show, but I will try and do that in a few things that were highlights for me. The Holocaust Museum was a very special and an emotionally draining experience. It focuses on the history of anti-Semitism and its role in the Holocaust to better understand how prejudice and hate speech can contribute to violence, mass atrocities and even genocide. It helped me to understand the origins of hatred and prejudice that encouraged us all to think a little bit more deeply about what once happened and help us all resolve never to let it happen again. To walk inside an actual train carriage that carried Jewish people on a one-way journey to prison camps brought tears to my eyes, trying to imagine the feelings and uncertainty of those who once filled these carriages and many more like them. Then, to walk into a room about 30 feet high, surrounded by photographs of people whose images are all that remain, I could barely speak. And then to continue on to where the overwhelming smell of shoe leather that lingers from the shoes of people long since gone was profound. Lastly, to see the fascias of ovens where remains were burned and disposed of. I was very grateful I came here, and this visit ended in the Hall of Remembrance. It was a thrill seeing this original flying machine from Wilbur and Orville Wright. Incredible that the thing they flew on was right here. And ultimately, I wonder if they had any idea of what would happen as a result of these little steps. The Smithsonian Air and Space Museum was just incredible, with Space Shuttle Discovery, the Lunar Module, the Concorde, and the original Enola Gay, which dropped the bomb on Hiroshima in 1945. Simply incredible, and there's just way too much to show and way too much to even take in. The Smithsonian Museum of Natural History was a truly incredible place. They had so many skeletons. They have a T-Rex that was found in 1911, and they had displays that were incredible. But the main reason that I was there was to see the 45-carat Hope diamond worth $250 to $300 million. The last museum I visited was that of American history, and there was so much. The depth and breadth of that history was immense, but I just loved seeing the MASH sign and recalling some of those wonderful episodes. Perhaps though, the crowning achievement of what I wanted to see was Judy Garland's red shoes when she played Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, and I wasn't disappointed. Washington DC was lots of walking, but I got to see some amazing things, and the most famous address on Pennsylvania Avenue, the White House, both North Side and South Side, the Washington Monument, and I loved the Lincoln Memorial, where so many films have been made, and also where Martin Luther King gave his impassioned and wonderful speech. Thank you for watching another episode of Stories from Here.